Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. A couple years ago we made a dish called pasta alla Genovese. And it was essentially a sauce, tomato-less pasta sauce that was caramelized onions, a little bit of beef, and some pancetta. And I remember at the time thinking it was a little bit time-consuming, a little bit too difficult. Not difficult, but for a weeknight meal it just wasn't going to work. And could I simplify it? And I took notes and I came up with something that I thought would simplify it. But I hadn't tried it, still haven't tried it. We're going to try it today. So in the bottom of that pan, I've put some butter. Everybody's got butter. I've got 5 or 6 onions, works out to maybe 5.5 to 6 cups of sliced onions. In those go. Got some shallots, 2 or 3 shallots. In those go. My temperature's too high. I'm going to turn that down to 4, maybe 3. I'm going to turn it down to 3. I'm going to add in a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and just to get it started, hands are slippery, just to get it started, a couple glugs of white wine. Give that just a little bit of a stir to get the wine and the onions off the side. Get the wine and the butter mixed around in there. Some sprigs of thyme. I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to let this go for 15 or 20 minutes with the lid on. I've got the oven, the stovetop set to 3, so fairly low. That'll just give the onions a chance to start to sweat, release some of their liquid. Then I'll take the lid off and we'll go until the onions are nice and caramelized. I hear you. There's people out there who always tell me if you put in a pinch of baking soda, it will brown faster. The onions will brown faster. No doubt about it. The onions are going to brown faster. But I don't like the texture that results. To me, they become too mushy. And I don't like that mushy texture. I want the onions to still be visible. I want to know that there's onions in there. So we're going to let it go slow. Total time, maybe 35 or 40 minutes. And I'm not calling this pasta Genovese at all. This is just kind of a riff on an onion pasta. Okay, looks like we've got some good caramelization on these onions and some good fond in the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to tip in 3/4 of a cup of wine. Deglaze the bottom of the pan. It's boiling, like it's bubbling. We're getting some good action on the bottom. I've got the bottom of the pan pretty much deglazed, and in the time it took me to scrape the bits off the bottom, enough of the wine has evaporated. So in goes some beef stock. Ooh. And I've got some bow tie pasta. I'm using bow ties because I like bow ties. No other reason. So as that liquid comes up to a simmer, I'm going to tip in the pasta. Stir that around so that it's all kind of submerged. Put the lid on and simmer that for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so once this came up to a boil, I took the lid off and I've let this go almost full tilt until the pasta is just toothsome, because it's still going to cook a little bit more, right? So at this point, you just want it toothsome. And I've stirred it every once in a while to keep the pasta from sticking to the bottom. And the liquid has thickened. It's got a nice sauce. The flavor is infused inside the pasta. And it's time to move on to the next. I'm going to turn this off at this point. So next up, I've got some mustard. Dollop of mustard in there. And some Worcestershire sauce. This is our homemade stuff. You can use the commercially prepared if you want. Oh, it just smells better and better and better every time I go in here to get it. So I put maybe 2 spoonfuls in. You know, measure everything carefully. Know your own taste buds. Measure everything carefully according to what you like. And I've got some pecorino here because I really like pecorino. I like the flavor. And if that seems like a mountain of pecorino, it is. So, I'm going to stir that in. The mustard, the Worcester sauce, the pecorino. Get it in there everywhere. Try not to get it all over the stovetop. Okay, so I've got it stirred in, flattened out. I'm going to put some melty cheese on top. So this is a pizza mozzarella left over from our last pizza night. It's been hanging out a little while. It's melty. It's not going to add a lot of flavor. It's just going to melt in the top. And then on top of that, I'm going to grate some Gruyere because I really like the flavor. And then some breadcrumbs sprinkled on top. Panko would be fantastic. I thought I had some in the cupboard, but I didn't. So we're going to make do with some breadcrumbs. Now, the broiler is on. I'm going to stick this under the broiler and just sort of melt that cheese on top and get it a little bit brown before we serve. And keep an eye on it when you're broiling. Never walk away from the broiler. And there we go. So, I can smell the Worcester sauce. I might have put a dollop too much.
Hi, friends. That's funny, Glenn. That's very funny.
I've got forks.
Oh, you got forks.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No?
Tastes okay, though.
Yeah. Mix of cheeses, a little bit of mustard.
That's what gives it the tang. I was trying to figure out the tang. Did you see my thinking face?
Yeah, so the mustard cuts the sweetness from the onions a little bit. Because I think if it was just the onions, it would be cloyingly sweet.
That's pretty good.
There's a lot of flavor in there from the onions.
When you said it was going to have so many onions, I thought, oh no, it's going to be like a French onion soup kind of thing. But no.
I mean, it shares a lot of similarities with that.
This is why I thought, you know, but the mustard really pulls something,
Yeah.
it pulls something different from it.
The onions, the beef stock,
The cheese.
the cheese, that's French onion as well. And it's kind of interesting how that's not where I started, but that's where we ended up. Right? Like what inspired this was not that, but it's there, which is how close so many things are.
Oh, yeah, onions.
Yeah.
Cheese.
So this is really good. It comes together relatively quickly. Browning onions always takes longer than you think it's going to take. And you don't want to resist the urge to turn the temperature up and burn the onions, right? So, because that happens, especially when a recipe says golden brown onions, 10 minutes. Never going to happen. Otherwise, this is a fairly quick, easy weeknight meal.
Except for that.
Except for the onions.
That one part.
Yeah, that one part. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.